What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the biker channel, B1. I am having all kinds of technical issues today, so I apologize for being a little bit behind, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and get started for the best that we can. The first thing I want to say to everybody out there is thank you for showing up, man. I really appreciate it. This is the 47th episode of the BKER Bar, so if you're not familiar with it, it's been around for a while. Definitely stop by the channel, hit the subscribe button. I just split this off of my other channel, which some of you guys may be familiar with, the biker channel, where I have most of my POV kind of stuff posted. And so this is just an interview kind of podcast. It's live stream every Sunday at 5 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern time. Oh man, I'm getting flustered already. This is not a good start. So anyways, I really appreciate everybody coming. So since this is a new channel and it's just moved over, if you guys could hit the like button, the subscribe button, it really helps it grow. Tell your friends. If you have an opportunity to share this with somebody, please do. I do want to give a special thanks to my most tried and true sponsors, everybody out there on Patreon. Those are the guys that are interested. $5 a month, get a sticker pack, get early access to the videos. $1 a month, you get in there anyways. And I have a bunch of coupons on there for different vendors that I work with, like the sponsor for today's show. Actually, that's a pretty good one. That's Project 321. If you guys haven't heard of them, they have been around for a long time, and I've actually been a customer of theirs for way before I was in the YouTube game. I really enjoy their hubs a lot, and they have great prices too as well. So if you really want to save a little bit of money on something, I just did a little price comparison before we got online today, and for a competitor's hub set that I would buy, it was right around $650 for the front and back boost. And I went ahead and priced them out on Project 321. They came in at $600. But if you use the BKER Bar Baller code, so BKER Bar Baller, BALLER, if you don't know how to spell that, there's an extra 10% that you can get off of them. So that brings them down to $540. So that's like $110 cheaper than what the competition is. They have all kinds of colors like black, blue, gold, green, orange, pink, purple, red, and turquoise for you Yeti people out there. They have different engagements. It's 144 and 216 points of engagement. Pretty sick stuff, man. Really impressed with them. Have always been stoked about them. They're American-made company. When you're buying from them, you're putting food in the kid's mouth. It's a good deal. And Jake's a good guy too, man. You've probably seen him in a few of my videos if you follow the biker channel. So let's get on with this episode, man. Today's going to be a really fun one. We have a surprise for you guys probably coming up closer to the end. That's going to be a riot. So make sure you hang out for all of that. So today, let me bring on, oh man, let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. Let's bring on our guest today. It is BKXC. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Brian. Hey, Brian, how's it going, man? I can hear you. I haven't switched over the comments. Let's see what.
It's going to come back. So I'm the only one now. I'm hosting the BKER Bar by myself with Project321.com BKER Baller as the thing. Let's see. I'm going to go to the YouTube thing. Man, that sucks that
So I'm gonna switch back over the comments. Looks like Brian dropped off. There he is.
in control. I was like the only one in. I went over to the YouTube site. Oh, it's all screwed up. But as long as it's still broadcasting, that's all that matters. Okay.
We'll go ahead and hope that that's what's happening. Take the control away. I don't know what's going on. I'm hitting all kinds of buttons. Things are just a mess today. So how about the internet, man? What about that?
It's crazy. That was actually one of the things they were predicting, is that like, oh, there's going to be so many people on the internet because everyone's at home. And I don't really know if anything ever came of that. There wasn't really anything that I noticed that was like screwed up.
I will say, I think that it's been a little laggy. Like I'll get on and check, like you know, I'm IT guy, so I'll check like my speed tests and stuff like that. But I think there's just like there's some latency issues or something like that, man.
Something's up, yeah. Now that you mentioned that, like when I click on stuff, sometimes like it's taking that extra second to route.
Definitely getting the full wrath of the internet out there, bag it on me for being us both on being IT guys.
Yeah, we're paying good money for this StreamYard thing. I pay for it, you pay for it. Come on.
Yeah. Who knows, man? You never know, right? It's just like maybe there was a solar flare or something, right?
That's supposed to be a legit like thing. Like if we ever have like a solar storm, like we haven't had like a real solar storm since we've had all these devices and cell phones and stuff. We're gonna, worse than the corona. Are
you into that stuff? You like to watch the like space stuff?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's cool. Man. I don't get too deep because it gets pretty depressing actually, because it just makes the whole world feel this big when there's like, hey, there's billions of stars in our galaxy, and there's billions of galaxies.
Yeah. Like,
what?
Every time I'm totally into it too, man. The lady likes watching, like, I always tell her, like, she's always watching somebody die on TV.
Yeah.
Like somebody's been murdered, somebody's been slaughtered. It's like a fake show about people that have been dead. You know? So like for me though, it's always like physics and space. Like I really get off on that stuff, but it just hurts my brain, man. Like when you start thinking about what you just said, it's just like I can't put all that shit together, man.
It is a lot. And well, you know, we got the Space Force now, so we could all join up the Space Force.
There you go, man.
I don't know if we'll be exploring space or dominating space, but whatever it is.
It just reminds me of like Starship Troopers or something like that. It's just gonna be a hot mess, right?
Yep.
Don't they say that it's cockroaches that survive like a nuclear like Holocaust or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. So we survived somehow. I think we were little rodent mice or something like that, some kind of thing like that when crazy, asteroids hit the dinosaurs and everything. 65 million years later, we're live streaming. We're having all kinds of problems.
Oh yeah. Or people are catching on. So, anyways, well, what's been new, man? You've been locked up in the house like in the penitentiary. Not too bad.
Oh. You dropped off again, but I'm going to talk like you're still here. I'm going to answer your question for as long as I can. Stupid Streamlabs. So yeah, the timeline of the recent events was that I was in Nashville. Was I in Knoxville or Nashville around March 4th? I was seeing disgraced comedian Louis C.K. And at that time, it was already like, this is going to happen. This Corona thing is going to happen. And like it was a sold out show, but there was like half as many people there as there should have been. And so like the writing was on the wall. So like the next day I went to Seth's place and I was like, hey man, Seth, like we're going to have this whole lockdown thing's going to happen. And I don't think he really believed it at the time, but I was trying to like get to convince him it. And then, a week or 10 days later, it became real. We did the lockdown thing. And then, man, it sucks just talking here with no feedback, nobody in the chat saying what's happening. I don't know. Okay, wait, now Robert's reconnecting. Here we go. Now I hear. It's still going. I will continue my story like nothing ever happened.
Oh my God. This is a mess.
I can still hear me through if you have
the
YouTube
tab.
Okay, you got it.
I threw up my phone real quick because I was like, what is happening right now?
So that's good to have the double check.
Good Lord.
StreamYard is killing us. Software as a service. So yeah, I was at Seth's house. I was locked down there. And then I was like, it was funny because I was doing virus updates on Patreon and kind of saying like, oh my God, we're going to get locked down and all this is going to happen. And it did actually end up happening, but I thought it was going to be way worse. I thought they were going to stop like interstate travel. I thought I wasn't going to be able to drive back anywhere. So all at the same time, I happened to meet Sarah, my gal pal here, who was actually came home with me, and I met her, and we were, very much, on the same wavelength and talking and stuff. And I was like, man, I don't know how much longer are we going to be forced to be locked at Seth's house for months. But if I go home, I'll be locked at my own house for months. And I was like, hey, Sarah, you want to come? Just hang out and let's see what happens. And That's what happened. Oh my God! Now my phone turned on. Well, how is that possible? But yeah,
I think we're doomed, dude.
Yeah, we are totally doomed. So yeah, that was the timeline of what's been happening recently, and now Sarah's been here for maybe 6 or 7 weeks now. All of a sudden went by like that, and she likes California, and we're getting along really good. So it's making really good. Yeah, it's been great.
It's been making really good internet. YouTube, that's for sure. Oh my God, I thought we were gonna be a while until we got into this, but since you brought it up, dude, you broke the internet with this thing, man. I never thought I would get on a mountain bike YouTube channel and see like 3,000 comments of guys like chattering like they're watching the soap opera, man. Good Lord.
Yeah, we're going to keep it going. We're going to have some fake relationship drama. We're going to break up. We're going to get back together. She's going to cheat on me. We're going to have all kinds of really good stuff. Man. We got to get these views up, baby. We got to get this thing going.
All you need to do is watch like any old episode of like, what was that MTV show? Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Real World.
Yeah.
Yeah, just watch one of those episodes and be like, we throw some of this in, little Jersey Shore.
Create some fake drama. Like, oh yeah, my ex-girlfriend, she's going to come and live with us too. That shouldn't be a problem, right?
I don't even understand what seems to be an issue here. So how'd you guys meet? I saw like a little clip on one of the channel or one of the videos. It was just kind of like you threw it out there. Hey, you want to live in a van? And then you like kind of back down. You backpedaled. You were like, oh God, I think I the line.
Yeah. So that ride was the first ride that we met. So there's one of the guys that's a fan of the channel, Brian Chambers. He works for Chick-fil-A. Sarah worked for Chick-fil-A as a consultant, and they had a mountain bike kind of group. They had a little mountain bike crew at Chick-fil-A headquarters in Atlanta who would go on mountain bike rides and stuff. And Sarah and Brian were some of the more advanced riders, so they rode together more often. And actually, really, are we dropping out? Okay. But he's giving up. But yeah, so they rode together. And actually, this really interesting story about Brian Chambers went to Spain, Basque MTB, one of the trips that I always talk about, and met another guy that I know named Dan, who's been on a bunch of trips, and they became friends. And then Sarah, Dan, and Brian went on a couple different trips. They went to Whistler, and they had a couple trips this year planned. So it's very neat, like that my videos kind of inspired this kind of indirect traveling and friendship with Brian, Dan, and Sarah. And then I got to meet Brian, Dan, or I hadn't met Brian yet, but I had already met Dan from Chasing Epic Trips, and I hadn't met Sarah before, so I got to ride with all three of them on that ride at Mulberry Gap in North Georgia, and that's how we met, and that's how everything just started rolling from there, and it was pretty dang cool.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a conversation with like, hey, if I introduce you on the channel, like, there's going to be a lot of people with opinions, maybe some of them that we don't want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I was pretty good about like, okay, I don't think I really had a full on like, yeah, maybe we did have the full on talk of like, hey, there's going to be a lot of creepers. There's going to be a lot of weird stuff. Like Robert's going to drop out and he's going to join back up. But anytime like, I can take the public pressure. I am a public person. I signed up for this. Anytime you add someone into that, it's going to be a lot of weird stuff. Women especially, it's just an extra layer. So like the first thing I told her was like, okay, if anybody tries to follow you on Instagram, don't follow them. Turn your Strava to private. Like just all these little things that can just add up to stalker stuff, you know. But we try to trust that people are good and that kind of stuff, but I'm very, 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 very aware of all that stuff, and so yeah, it's a balance. It is my life still, and I'm still going to live my life in public as much as I like to show it, but not all of it in public. And now we wait for Rob. I can do this by myself. I do live streams by myself all the time, but I need a drink first. It's actually kind of crazy when you think about just sitting here talking to myself. This is actually the reason I don't do Patreon live streams, because we probably have a lot of people on the live stream right now and nobody's chatting whatsoever. We've got like, a few people have, are in the chat right now, but it's like, you need like 1,000 people. If you're going to be live streaming by yourself, like right now, I need like so many people in the chat to be able to riff off of different things. You got to have questions ready because it is utterly bewildering. Hey, what's up, Brian Chambers? Good to see you. Or I was just talking about you. We got Andrew Angley in the chat. Now we got the chat coming alive only because the format of this is kind of more like hang out and be in the background. So I saw a really good comedy special recently, and I shared it on my Instagram. Did I get my coil noise? So okay, I'll go off the chat instead of my random thing that I was going to talk about. The coil noise on my bike, it's still there, but I don't think I can hear it during the ride. I don't think it's actually that loose during the ride, but I still am a little bit sketched out that I can just like move it and just get it going. So yeah, it seems good. Yeah, I got to call you guys out. keep. And then yes, Brian T. Back in the day, Rob would do these live streams with like 30 people and just go for 3 hours. He is magic. He is like so good at the conversation. He can just talk and ebb and flow and make good stuff. And that is like 10,000 hours of just doing that. If you just do that every day for 10 years, you'd be an excellent radio host. Savant, I did. We went to demo. I think it's on my Strava, but you know how Strava is sometimes when you don't have signal. But yeah, we went to demo for us on Friday. Really cool ride. There was hero dirt because it had just rained, so it was very, very cool. Oh, Jeff Everhart planning a camping trip to Asheville. Very cool, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how everything starts to roll out and starts to get back to normal because you could go out and camp in some kind of dispersed camp spot, go get food at a grocery store. It's just not the same, man. Where's the Speedy t-shirt? Yeah, that's a jersey. The Speedy jersey that I had in my original videos. I still have it. I haven't done any jersey stuff like these the t-shirt stuff that I have up there. But originally I was gonna do all jerseys, but I did t-shirt instead. Poor Rob. I'm taking over. So if people are curious about the cats pooping in the yard, I think since we've been back and Sarah's been working out in the back, working from home in the backyard a lot. So like we've kind of had our presence around. So the cats have not been out here so much, and the poop has died down. There's been a couple piles here and there, but not like the 10 pounds of cat poop that we found when I got back in. Oh, how did I make my logo? So I on Instagram, there's always artists. One of the coolest things about Instagram is like you go on Sticker Mule. If you go on Sticker Mule's Instagram account, you can see all these really cool artists. It's amazing, like how like every single day they post all these cool stickers. So you look at those artists, and then you look at the artists, like the people that they are following, and you can go on a total rabbit hole of like trying to find a really good artist. So I had kind of an idea that I wanted it to be letters. I wanted it to be letters, mountains, and wheels. I kind of had that idea, and I pitched that to a designer. And the thing is, when you pitch something to a designer, you pretty much have to tell them. You almost have to hold their hand. I've worked with a ton of designers over the years on this channel with all these different t-shirts and stuff, and I've gotten good stuff, but you have to tell them exactly what you want, which sucks. It's like, oh, the dream of a designer is like, hey man, I've got this little idea, you bring it to life. And I haven't found that person yet. I've had so many designers, and I've had to hold their hand through everything, and I suck at the design. I don't want to come up with the design. I want to come up with like a little nugget, a little seed, and for it to bloom. So yeah, that sucks. But that's kind of the story, how I made my logo. Brian Chang, oh, he's coming back.
I don't know which one you got. Oh my God. This is out of control.
I held it down.
Dude, you were doing awesome, man. I'm just going to have you be my my permanent me for the rest of the show.
What's up, you?
I'll just send you a bunch of text messages of what I was going to ask you.
Here's the questions.
So, oh my God. Well,
Crazy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what's going on at my house right now. We're going to blame my ISP because I like ran upstairs, tried to start my other computer, punched the baby, kicked the dog.
Smashed a bottle over your wife's head, whatever works.
God, this is just out of control. Like the worst thing I've ever had until now was like there was a thunderstorm going on one of mine, and the power went out.
And that's a legit thing.
Yeah,
how many live streams have you've done more live streams than anybody?
God.
Like
probably like hundreds,
Yeah.
And it's just, fortunately, that's when I was using Hangouts back then, and I had like just jumped on with my phone, and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
But like with this, if I just added myself my phone, but if I don't put
you're not the ruler, you're not the administrator. If you're on your phone, you're just another person jumping in. Yeah.
Right. So who knows, man? We'll see what happens. So how was the interview going? Everything good?
Yeah, it was great. We're all here. We got plenty of people. People do come alive in the chat. That's kind of the interesting thing is that, this is a live stream, but you've kind of built it where it's more of an interview show. People sit back and they watch and stuff. And so I was about to go on a little tangent, which I thought would be really interesting because one of my favorite comedians, Mark Normand, he released his comedy special, his 1 hour comedy special on YouTube, which is kind of a rare thing. He spent probably $25,000 to make it, and then nobody would buy it. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, nobody would buy it. So he released it on YouTube, and he got about 500,000 views in the first day, which is pretty good for somebody that most people haven't heard of. His channel wasn't very big and stuff. So pretty cool. And he did it as a premiere. So there was a ton of super chats coming through. So he's just like getting little $5, $10, $100. And it's just such a great way to see that like, oh man, he's got fans, he's got his people, and that there is a medium out there that you can just use it and put it out there and people will find it.
The more that the YouTube grows, the more that you really question like how this is going to completely change television and how people consume it. I mean, it's already, pretty drastic even with like the younger kids where like my son like pretty much would only watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Or like, and my daughter is like, doesn't really watch a lot of TV other than like, she's like on Snapchat or something like that all the time, So it'll be interesting to see, another 15 years from now, like kind of where everything ends up playing out at.
Definitely how habits change.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some people where it's like, oh man, they should get a TV show. And then you think about it, you're like, dude, but they're probably making TV show money on their own channel as it is right now.
Without having to deal with the network saying, you can't say this and you can't do this. You just do what you want. But it just takes that time to kind of roll it up into that eventual thing that you can do what you want.
So you've always been a little bit looser lipped and not, totally following the PG way of your channel. Do you feel like that's something that's bitten you in the butt yet, or has?
No,
or
I go back and forth for sure because like when my niece was born last year, I was like, man, I gotta cut out the cussing a little bit. Like it's just in my regular life. So my regular life always reflects my YouTube life. I try to keep them very much the same. I don't want to be a different person when you meet me in real life versus see me on screen. So I've tried to dial down the cussing quite a bit. I actually read a comment earlier today on my Whistler EWS race, like, oh, if you didn't cuss so much, I'd be able to watch this with my kids. And it's like, I used to get those comments all the time, and I rarely get those comments. It's like, dude, what do you expect? This is a friggin' race. It was like the hardest race of all time. I'm crashing in the rain and stuff. Your kids are gonna learn the word. Like it's justified. But then I'll go back and watch a couple videos where it's like, I'm just cussing all the time, and it just sounds weird now, which is the weirdest because I've lived my life cussing all the time, and that was normal. And then to like kind of see it and like kind of evolved a little bit. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean I do the same thing. So it's just how I raised my kids was I always kind of felt like you should teach them the difference between right and wrong, and not like shelter them from the world of like, oh, there's no such thing as bad words. Like to me it was more like hey, like this is an adult word, and when you're an adult, you can make that decision to use them. And I would be honest with them, be like, sometimes I wish that I didn't have such a potty mouth, but I it's like kind of who I am, and I do have control over that. But I always wanted them to just know the difference. Like, hey, this is just not appropriate for a kid. So that way, when somebody is walking around saying cuss words or whatever, it's like they just know. It's like, hey, that's just not right for me. You know?
Definitely.
So, but it's hard to take your opinion and push it out to, thousands of other people on the internet, so it's definitely interesting. When you first started your channel, how did you get it to grow?
Man, it was an amazing time because there wasn't enough mountain bike stuff on YouTube at the time. There was Seth Bike Hacks. There was this guy, MTB Tips, the guy from Australia, kind of had the yellow branding. Do you remember that guy?
No, I don't.
He had it. Like if you ever look back, if you're searching for like how to tie a tie or like how to do a manual, like those basic things that people did videos about when YouTube first started, and they have millions of views. It's like that legacy, like that first generation YouTube people. He totally got it, but he was just spent 8 years doing it when nobody was there and nobody was like paying attention, versus 4 years ago when I started, it's like, okay, now people are here. So basically for me, it was keywords of like doing a test ride, doing bike reviews when I'm not a bike reviewer. I tried to figure out a way. It's like, okay, I'll call it like a first look or a test ride, and just Giant Trance Advance. Like anytime there's these bikes that just get searched for, like still to this day, Walmart bikes, Specialized bikes, Giant bikes, whatever the main big brands are, Fayutech gimbal. I did a lot of like basic keyword search type content. Then I threw in some of my own stuff. And I just kind of evolved to be like, hey, I'm going to make this more about travel and trails and places instead of stuff. And there was a need. There was definitely it was a time 4 years ago when there wasn't much out there at all. So people were just desperate for like, oh, wow, actual mountain bike stuff I can watch and pay attention to, and the guy can actually entertain me a little bit. That kind of little snowball kept growing.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me because I just started this channel up, and it all of a sudden makes you remember all the growing pains that you had whenever you had your other, like when you did your channel,
Definitely.
So like for me, it's like it's just things that I've taken for granted, like like being able to get a super chat. It's like, oh crap, I forgot I gotta get 1,000 people to hit the subscribe button. And it's
that all is it just 1,000? That's
it's 1,000.
Pretty good. And your watch time should be pretty good too, hopefully.
Yeah,
my live streams are live.
Yeah,
or long, I should say.
I'm pretty sure the watch time, I'll probably hit the watch time before the subscribers.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
It's crazy because that's usually backwards. Most people will hit the subscribers and then they're struggling to get the watch time.
Definitely.
But it's funny how hard it is to get somebody to hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Like I don't have as many followers as you on my regular channel, but I have 8,000, right?
Yeah.
Or 8,500, something like that. Like it matters. And but you would think that you'd be like, hey man, everybody loves this. Like go push this button on this other channel that you guys all said that you like, and they're like, oh yeah, we love the BK Bar. And then you go and you watch what happens in 50 people out of 8,000.
Dude, friction. Friction is the craziest thing.
Yeah, it's just nuts that it works out that way.
And that's like if you try to sell a shirt or you sell a hat or something, it's like it blows me away that people are actually willing to spend money and to do that and do a super chat, because people cannot be bothered to go over and hit subscribe or hit like or leave a comment, but they it's very weird that how the ebb and flow of how everything works, and trying to find your people and getting your people active enough to do something.
I'm afraid to push any buttons. I just clicked one. I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen? So I hit this. I was trying to show Savant's comment that he just threw up. He said, only 4% of his views are from his subscribers.
Yeah, which is makes sense because a couple of his videos are very, very good, and then they kind of blow up and maybe get 50,000 views or 80,000 views, and it's like, whoa, you didn't have 80,000 subscribers, but you had tons of views from these other random folks because you're making such good explosive content.
Yeah. No, he's good too, and he's got this camber to him that just it flows.
I could listen to him. I could always listen to his great voice.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, you could go ahead and tell me about how you put a toilet together. I'm just gonna listen to it.
Totally.
Good stuff, man. So as you were growing your channel, I remember you posting. I told this story on a podcast I was on the other day about how I used to chat, or I still do. I think you do too, on MTBR forums.
Yeah, I popped in recently.
Yeah.
It's a good place. Yeah.
And I used to chat on there a lot more than I do now that I have a lot of time being taken up by the channels. But I was telling this story about, there was this guy that started posting his videos on there, and he was kind of quirky. And at first I was like, who is this dude? And like,
I believe the term you used was spamming my videos on MTBR, not posting my videos.
Did I say that?
You've said it several times in the past.
I may have.
It was never spam.
I was probably drinking. No.
Oh, he dropped off. He dropped off right when it was getting good. I'm going to close this other window so the wind noise doesn't affect it as much. We'll get back in there. He'll come back in. Does high views with low sub count affect monetization? Yeah, so it's like YouTube wants you to have at least 1,000 subscribers and then certain amount of views or watch time kind of thing, just to make sure you're legit. So not to get political or anything, there was that pandemic video that came out. So that thing maybe got 10 million views, but I don't know if that channel was actually monetized. So, if something just bursts onto the scene out of nowhere or gets re-uploaded on a different channel that maybe just somebody made the account just to get the information out there kind of thing, they're probably not making money off of it, but it's possible they are if they had a different channel kind of thing. But nice, BKS MTB from Algeria. Welcome. I see you biking with them, Emily. I hope your puppy is doing good. That thing is very, very cute, and it already looks very big from the Instagram photos. The puppy looks massively big compared to Oscar, Seth's dog, that still looks like it's the same size as it was 12 weeks ago or whenever they got it. Oh, he's coming back. I feel it.
Oh my. looks I don't even know. I was watching you on there. You looked like you were handling your shit pretty good.
I was giving it my best shot.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very cool that you've been doing the clips. I don't know if you guys have happened to see anything come up in your subscription feed or suggested feed, but Robert's been clipping out pieces from his podcast, just like Joe Rogan, just like any kind of podcast. And it's really cool because we don't have that in the mountain biker world of hey, I wonder how did Seth start his channel, or what advice does Seth where's Alex Bent? These little things that people are probably typing in or they don't know to type in, but now they will know to type in, and you get them hooked on things. So I'm a big fan of pro wrestling, and there's this guy named Jim Cornette who's a big loudmouth. He used to be a manager back in the day, but he has a podcast and he goes off on these tangents, and YouTube just, once you get on one little 10-minute tangent, boom, 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 they just keep serving you all these little clips. So I think that's a total eventual, you're going to build up a very, very good library of all these little fun clips, and people jumping into the YouTube world for the first time, the mountain bike YouTube world for the first time, are going to be able to see these clips and really be whoa, okay, this is get up to speed pretty quickly, I think.
By the time we're done with this live stream, all that's going to be left is clips, because it's going to be let's see which 5 minutes of this Robert can actually make a clip out of, because apparently he needs to get a new internet provider. I was like, what can I do here? I think I'm going to start sending smoke signals. It's all I got. Yeah, man, it's so hard to keep the momentum of a conversation.
It just gets cut off at the knees. So you were talking about MTBR forums, first watching my channel.
Yeah, and then you were making fun of me for saying that. I just scammed it. So anyways, it was just like that. That is a way that you can get started, and it's like
Reddit,
get on the different boards, Reddit and things of that nature. But for this podcast, it's just I don't know where to go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's such a different format.
It is. And it's you're almost depending so much on YouTube algorithm to be somehow find these, get these suggested. Hopefully something will get picked up and people will be whoa, because it's just like a snack. Once you eat one, you're going to eat 10 of them. And if they're all good, it's just you're building that library and building it on the way to eventually where it'll actually, it'll take off.
Yeah. And I think the clips, I think the clips will be like good because not everybody wants to spend 2 hours listening to people talking, but it's fun to like have a little bit of just like get some of the guts of the story or something.
Totally, because
like
people consume their content totally different ways. My buddy Joe, the Colorado kid, he can't listen to a 2-hour podcast. He's always like, man, these people do these 2-hour podcasts, 3-hour podcasts. I can't listen to it. I've got 20 minutes in the car when he's, dropping his kids off at daycare to go to work, and he can only do 20-minute, 10-minute chunks, and the clips are perfect for that. And the best thing is if you have YouTube Premium, I don't know if you do or not, but you load it up and you listen to it like a podcast. You turn off your phone and it still plays in the background. You can download it. It's automatically suggesting clips, so it sounds seamless. Sometimes you're like, wait, is this a different clip? Am I on a different video now? But it's a very subtly like the best podcasting software out there. It's YouTube Premium somehow.
Right. Do you know that guy before your channel or just like through the channel?
Yeah, so my buddy Joe, he was in a couple of my videos. I'm trying to think of what the video was. We went fishing. It was out like Scotts Flat Lake is the first time I did the Hoot Trail. So me and Joe, we've been friends since 7th grade. It was like when all the elementary schools feed into the middle school, and so he went to a different elementary school, and we were friends in middle school through high school, and then kind of drifted more apart in college, and now we've been friends here and there, but now he's getting into mountain biking. He was watching my videos, so we've kind of like gone on a few rides, and it's the best. It's the ultimate best to like, he's like, yeah, man, I watch your videos. He kind of had a mountain bike before, kind of, sorta, but it got the fire burning again. Yeah. So it's
I think his channel's going to do really well.
He's good. He's the one guy, like in high school, if you would have thought who would be famous, who would have that magnetic personality, who would have already been doing a podcast or a YouTube channel, it would have been Joe. So hopefully he can get things going. He's really funny, fun guy, and he's, larger than life, and I like what he's doing.
No, I've watched I met him through the MTV NorCal group.
Cool.
And then I've watched a few of his videos, and every time I'm like, I can tell, you can tell he's starting, you know what I mean? But
of course,
you can see like the channels that you can tell, like you're like, oh, this guy's gonna do.
There's something there. And that's the thing, man. Like, you have to entertain first. That's all. You have to entertain first, and then you can inform and you could do things, but if you just can't get that first level of entertainment of like people being able to stomach you and being intrigued by you, like good or bad, like you're never going to get past that hump.
Is that your best advice to somebody that's getting started, or is that just one of many? It
never ends, but it really is the entertainment factor in making stuff that people want to watch. Like, we've seen Paul the Punter come out of nowhere. He's my number one example of, I don't know how long ago he started his channel, but when he started really, reverse engineering YouTube and thinking like, okay, I want to make this kind of video, and this is what people probably want to hear and want to know about, because I can tell there's other things going on. Boom, you make stuff that people want to watch, but you need to balance that with stuff that you actually want to do and participate in, because you could become all these other crazy YouTube burnout guys that have 10 million subscribers, and they're like, okay, we're gonna fill the pond up with motor oil, and this time we're going to do 10W30. Last time we did 10W40. It's got to be better. I'm going to jump in and snorkel in the motor oil. Hit like and subscribe.
Paul the Punter definitely did a good job of that. I mean, he started out with that Whistler video, like it was somewhere like that, like riding a Walmart bike down a big hill or something like that, and I think that obviously gave him a good kickoff. And then from there, though, I mean, he's definitely done, like you said, a really good job of analyzing what's pertinent and then putting out like good quality content. He's a great storyteller.
And that's the thing. It's there's a lot more to it than strapping on the GoPro and running around.
Just to mention your friend's channel again, the Colorado kid,
MTV Savant, he put it in there in the chat.
If you guys are listening, definitely check out his channel, and I'm sure you guys know who Paul the Punter is. If you don't, go check him out as well. Both good channels. What is one of your? Actually, I don't even want to say that. I don't know what I was going to say. So, whenever you when I first started watching your channel, you were always doing a lot of comments about like kind of like motivational speaking in a sense. Is there like a certain part of you like that's like you just like read those books to go to sleep at night, or like is that just some part of your inspiration, or just who you've been for a long time?
I love that stuff, man. Like I feel like I've fallen off of it a little bit more. Like I feel like I haven't injected that stuff in as much as I used to, because all of that stuff, like the self-help, the business books, all that stuff like led up to me being in the right mindset to be able to create my own business. And my business happened to be entertaining people on YouTube. And man, it's the one thing that matters most is like not having a victim mentality, like getting out there, doing what you want. Like there's so many things in all these little self-help books. And it's a funny thing. It's almost like a mental health exercise. Like you go to the gym to work your muscles, but you like read these books to exercise your mind. And I haven't read many, self-help audiobooks and I do a lot of listening. I haven't listened to a lot of audiobooks in a long time. It's been so long. So like, that's kind of why I probably haven't been injecting as much of that stuff in there, but it's just so important. And I don't know where I really caught that out of my listening habits. I almost want to say it was Adam Carolla, because he would talk about how he had a crappy childhood. He came from absolutely nothing, and he just hustled and hustled and hustled his way to where he was. And that's the story of anyone with billions of dollars. Oprah, just the ultimate absolute crazy underdog story of these people that were challenged and beat down and just had a little bit of success, then boom, back down, then back up. And it's all there. And we can all relate to that. We can all relate to like just not being exactly where we want to be, and how do we build to where we want to go. And I think maybe Think and Grow Rich might have been the first one that I really like listened to, and there's a million of them. And like my original YouTube channel with me doing audiobook reviews, that's probably where there's a good list of them there. That's
funny. So where do you like, what kind of goals do you have with your channel now, like with that, like you had obviously the aspiration when you first started to just make good content. Somewhere 5,000-6,000 subs along the line, you're like, you know what, I'm going to try to quit my job and like do this.
Yeah.
And I remember for a long time, the story was like, hey guys, my bank account's like going down every day, so I only have so much more time until like I'm actually making it. And here we are like years later now. So it's like, you met that goal. So what's like the pie in the sky for you now, like the moonshot?
Oh man, there's so many things. And I always try to think of things as crawl, walk, run. And right now I'm like 4 years into this, and it feels like it just went by like this, but then parts of it are like, oh, why don't I have my own thing? Why don't I have a giant bike company that I run? Why don't I have my own version of Whistler? Like, what the heck? Why isn't it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? When in all honesty, it's like, dude, it's just one little step at a time, one little thing. And I continue to think a lot about stuff that I can do beyond the channel, that I can do stuff with the channel to promote other things, to build my own companies or different bits and pieces. It's been an obsession and something I've thought about for so long. But now it's like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this little thing first. Like my merch has been kind of a good stepping stone right now. Like I've got my hats, I've got my sweatshirts, and you learn the process of like, okay, I want this to get made. Where does it get made? How many do I need to order? And it's a small scale operation, but it definitely helps. But it gets your mind thinking like, okay, so if I wanted to, do my own tires, how do you do your own tire? Where do you get, how would that work? Everything is like a white label service nowadays. You could put your name on anything. You could, like I could have my own chain lube. There's so many different ways out there. So I'm going to dance around the question, because I actually feel like for the first time I actually have like a pathway and big ideas and places I want to go. But then if I talk about them, it just gets everybody hyped up, and it never happens kind of thing. I get it. But like I think about it all the time. And really, if you think about my channel, what my channel is, it's inspiring people to go mountain bike, go travel. If I can find a way to like meet people's needs, there's so many things broken with mountain bike travel and, going out there. If you're on a road trip and you go from California to Asheville, like where are you going to stay along the way? There's a million cool places to go ride. Like what are people looking for? And there's all these problems businesses are just people solving problems, and there's all kinds of problems that I want to solve.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that caused me to start thinking about is when you started your channel, I think part of it was like you wanted to go travel and see the world. You also were starting a channel that has a really high overhead.
Yeah.
So like, is there anything that you would have done differently, like looking back on it?
Man. No, I love it. I love how I made it work. Like I look at my expenditures are still like, they're still way, way, way too high. But over the past couple years, it's just, how can you spend this much money a month and like somehow I'm getting this much income and it's actually, it's covering it. But just probably $100,000 on travel last year or something like that. Just an ungodly amount. And it's like, it worked. I got this. I got a little bit from Patreon, got a little bit from selling gloves. I got a little, and then you make it work and it's like completely unsustainable, but I'm doing it and I'm going to keep doing it. And, it's crazy, but I don't regret any of it because it's allowing me to set up and kind of be the expert, and I can transition and I can make different stuff. I don't think like the whole channel falls apart if I'm not able to not go travel, if I'm not able to go to Japan and China and all these different places, because I think I still have this nexus of me coming up with creative ideas and stuff like that. And even though now that this quarantine thing has happened, and I've always felt like, the time was going to come where I got injured or something happened where I would be stuck at home for a long extended period of time. And I'm like, that's when my creativity is really, really going to go off the charts. And my creativity is not going off the charts. My creativity is pretty stalled out, but I'm finally starting to kind of get it back.
Just like me coming back onto the internet.
I didn't even acknowledge that. I just went right through it. That worked out perfect.
Man. I need to change the screen so that people can't tell.
Yeah. Oh, I just put in full screen. It's
It's just hilarious. At this point, it's laughable. I think it's the best that I can do. So I was talking about you traveling, and another thing, I'm just like digging through the past here.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was thinking about was you used to have this skit that you did about Joey Trek.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of sponsors now.
Yeah.
So was that hard for you to like be like, hey, am I selling out? Am I being the guy that I said I wasn't gonna be? Or like,
definitely.
How does that play out in your head?
Yeah, it was a huge wrestling match. So Sarah actually saw that, and my girlfriend Sarah, who's kind of didn't even know who I was really until we started getting together, and then she kind of went back through and kind of watched some videos. So she saw the Joey Trek thing for the first time like a week ago, and she was laughing her ass off of, Joey Trek, we're going to set you up with some Bontraga tires and all this. So that idea was always that I knew, like nobody else knew, I'm sure, that I had something really, really special and something really, really valuable. And that I knew that I could make it work by you guys out there being on Patreon. I knew that I had enough people that could instantly turn my channel into a profitable channel where I didn't need to take anything from anybody and be like, boom, this is a total self-contained operation. And that did work. That did get so many people on board, and that ethos, that, hey, we're going to do this. And then eventually you start spending so much money on travel every month and you're like, oh dear God, like there's no way this is going to work. I need like 10,000 patrons to make this work. So the reality, and I struggled with it so much. Like I posted on Patreon several times, like even like accepting a free bike from Orbea, which I don't consider a sponsorship. Like the people in the bike industry consider sending you some free stuff a sponsorship. It's like, get out of here with that bull crap.
You're not paying any bills with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm a sponsored rider because I wear these gloves. Like, no, like you have to pay me money and then I'm sponsored. And then that's a good give and take. It's a thing that we're gonna, because I provide value, you provide value. So when I got the Orbea, I was like, oh my God, here we go. I had to like a long post on Patreon just saying here's my feelings and here's why I think this is a good move and da. And people were like, yeah, man, it's all good. Like, it's no big deal. Like, I maybe have gotten one, kind of disgruntled Patreon person over the past 4 years or something that was like, yeah. And then like some people will say Joey Trek, and I'm like, I don't know if you're joking or and they're like, no man, you come so far. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like, cause I am so wrapped up. I do take it all personal, and that's why I think I'm doing good. That's why I connect with people. I take this all so personal. But yeah, doing the Whoop Strap sponsorship thing, that was like a big step of like, okay, I'm going to put this in because I actually like the product. I actually use the product. I think it's good. Once all the coronavirus stuff started, I emailed Whoop and I said, hey man, I can't do the sponsorship right now because I think we're going to go through some serious economic, horrible stuff. Even though I do believe that tracking your sleep is probably the best way to get your immune system boosted. But I just didn't want to say, I didn't want to be putting that in the videos and being like, hey, you guys, this virus is sweeping through the nation, but one thing you can do to stop, like, oh, I can't do it. Like, so like, I gave up, a lot of money to like be like, no, okay, let's stop. Let's not do this for now. And it was a good partner to work with. Whoop is a good partner to work with. Ibis, being sponsored with the Ibis bike was such a cool partner to work with, because I emailed them in October like with a very much like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, you could take it or leave it, like very much like and they were like, cool, I love it, like, and I was like, yeah, that's sweet, I'm glad that we're on the same page, because last year I had the Ibis bike, but I didn't ride it exclusively. I took the Orbea to the Czech Republic, and then I took the BMC to the BC bike race, and those two like series had tons of views. They had millions of views on those two series, which Ibis missed out on. People seeing me ride their bike on all these cool different terrains and interesting stuff. So it's very much that exposure therapy of like, hey, oh wow, Brian's loving this. This is his bike, and he must like it, and I do, and that's why it works. But hey, if I'm riding the Orbea Rayon and SR Sun Tour is sponsoring it, then they're missing out on something. So yeah, it's something I've very much struggled with. I still think about it, and it's always going to be like, what's the best way to keep the channel alive? Because I do want to keep traveling. I would still want to keep spending and doing this crazy thing that probably no one could have even imagined. I think about it a lot. It's like, there's probably people that have traveled and done as much mountain bike riding as I have, but not over the past 4 years. Like maybe over 20 years. Like you hear about these guys, yeah, I've been here, I've been there, but like I've done so much, and it's been so awesome to actually have this whole video scrapbook of these amazing adventures that I've done all these other places, and it's crazy. It's the best, and I've said it many times, if it falls apart tomorrow, it's no big deal. We had a great run. I don't think it's going to fall apart tomorrow, because I continuously have people that really dig what I'm doing, and they're here along for the ride. And yeah, I see Rafe in the chat, Ibis is rad, hard to sell out to them. Yeah, it's very cool to have like a real relationship. Chuck Ibis, aka Scott Nickel, I've known this guy like for years now. I've talked to him at like trade shows and kind of sparked up little conversations. So he knew who I was, and I know who he was, because we'd run into each other on the trail. That's in a couple of the videos where, oh, there's Scott, he's coming down the trail. Or, hey, so we'd chat, and we would be very, we'd be very buddy, and all Scott would want to talk about is the places that he's ridden. Like, he just loves the Stoke, and that's what I'm all about. It's like, oh, when you go up to Tahoe next time, you got to go trucky, you got to do Dollar Rim Trail, you got to come around this way. And it's like, every time I talk to Scott, who's the founder of Ibis, he just loved talking about the trails. So it's like, you've got this local company that's only a couple hours away down in Santa Cruz, and they love the trails, so why not? It's a natural fit.
It's interesting that you had that kind of a connection with them. I think that whenever I've been with different companies that I've talked to in the time that I've been doing my channel, it's the ones that you have the connection with. I mean, everybody out there probably thinks that we're just like down to grab any product and take any money, and you know what I mean? And we just get online and pretend like we like it. And it's like, no, I actually like want to really, truly like a company before I'm talking about it.
Definitely.
And there's some products that I'm like freaking stoked about, then I want to talk about them, but there's other companies that is like, maybe I was kind of into the product, but then whenever I talked to the company, I was like, you guys, I don't want to tell people to have this experience, because if you know what I mean, it's like that doesn't sound fun.
Definitely.
So what's one of the questions that you wish people would ask you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh man. I think I've heard you ask this question before. Oh man, I totally wasn't ready for this. Dang it.
It's all right. I'll let you stew on it for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've asked that question before while you think about it. It just came to me the other day whenever I was on that podcast, and it was like, there's some things that I wish people would ask. And like, I'm not going to be able to pull one up out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I heard say right now.
Right now, but it's like, man, I wish this would be fun to talk about. So I wasn't sure if there was maybe something like that, or how about something that maybe that you feel like you were really miscommunicated on in one of your videos or in the past, maybe misrepresented, and you wish you could go back and like clear that up.
I've talked about this one a couple times, but there was a ride at the Sedona Mountain Bike Fest where another YouTuber came along on a ride, broke his frame, and I made a video on Patreon that was kind of like, man, these pros, they friggin' break stuff all the time and they can't tell you about it, and it's like, and I wasn't man enough to like go to that guy one-on-one and say, hey man, like, can we make a video like where it's like, oh, we got to show this. It's like, it happened. My videos are all about documenting what happened on the trail, good or bad. And I just, I did it the other way. That version only came out on Patreon. I edited it totally to come out on YouTube, very clean. Nobody knew what happened. And it's like, there was two pros on that ride that day. Both of them, their shit broke, and it pissed me off so bad. And it's like, what are we doing out here? Every pro that I've ever talked to breaks their stuff all the time, and they can't talk about it. And it's like, what world are we living? We're selling all this stuff to all these people, and we're just like, oh, no. Oh, yeah. Like, no, we're mountain bikers. We should believe in what we have. Like, we should say, like, oh, man, I did a friggin' 40-foot gap, and it broke. Or like, oh, this thing is weird. Like, I just hate it. And that's another reason why I never wanted to be sponsored and be on the hook to try to cover someone's ass when, no, I'm all about reality. If this frame breaks, I'm going to talk about it. It's going to be a thing, and it'll probably be because I did something wrong.
Yeah. It's funny. I had this conversation with Alex offline last week after we got done with our podcast. And I was like, I didn't want to push the spot thing when we were on live, but I wasn't sure, like, because I'd asked him a similar question, and he was like, what are you thinking about, Robert? Actually, I wasn't thinking about anything, but after the fact, I was like, I brought that up to him, and he was like, man, I wish you would have said that on there, because he's like, I never got a chance to really let people know what ended up happening. He's like, that there was another YouTuber that broke the frame the same way, and it ended up being like a design flaw with the rocker arm. The rocker arm is actually what you heard hitting the frame. It wasn't like everybody on the internet's like, oh, he didn't have any air in his shock.
Yes.
And apparently that's what it was, and it's like, oh, okay, man, I could, that's a great example of, man, I wish I could like clear some shit.
Totally. And totally. And I remember that time of like me and him both, and even Seth now, it's like, you got to get a video out. You've got 2 videos a week you're trying to put out. He was on a Chasing Epic trip. He had to get that video out within the next couple days, because that's the cadence of trying to make it on YouTube. So like I think they drug their feet just enough where they did have like a pretty good response, I think, later, but it was too late. Like, it just, it's like one of those things where it was just such a shitstorm where it's like, dude, I got to get these videos out. This is how I ride. I rode your bike. This is reality, where it's like, you need companies like the reality distortion field much better, and like, let's take our time here, because a normal video shoot or something, those things come out like a year later. I remember somebody telling me about Danny McCaskill in Switzerland, and it's like, oh, that one just came out, like that was 2 years ago or something.
That's crazy. When you first started, you were doing like 3 videos. What's your release now? 2
videos a week. Right now, during the whole quarantine thing, I'm doing 1 live stream on Mondays, and then like 1 like real video a week on Wednesday, and then might ramp that up a little bit. I've gotten out on a couple rides, and those will be on YouTube soon. And I actually, I feel like I'm gonna stir up a little bit on Wednesday's video, because I talk about masks, wearing masks on the trail, and nobody wants to hear that. And like, so I'm fine with it. I'll live and die by. You want to stand up for what you believe in, but there's a certain point. Like, I've been watching the Last Dance, Michael Jordan documentary on ESPN.
I've heard a lot about that. I haven't watched it yet.
It's quite good. Episode 5 is fantastic, about him wanting to go to Adidas and signing with Nike, all that stuff. But he had a chance to endorse a black Democrat in North Carolina versus a white Republican that had one of the worst track records on race, Jesse Helms. And he had the chance to endorse, Gant, I believe his name was, who was running for a Senate seat. And he just said, no, I'm not going to do it. It's just not my thing. I'm basketball. And I really, that's his thing. We should all, it's America. We have our thing. But like he also said, hey, Republicans buy sneakers too. And people thought that was like such like a, oh my God. And it's like, no, we're all people. Like it is true. Like, especially in today's world, if you say one thing, boom, it's on the other side, and it's so divided and stuff. But if you believe in something, you should be willing to stand up and take the beating. And if you believe it, and I'm very much a person that can change my mind and see new info and be like, maybe I wasn't right about that. It's true. I've never gone back and forth so much about this friggin' virus thing. It is endless of like, it's just, old people get sick and those are the people. And then on the other side, it's like, oh God, now the babies. And now I hear stories about normal people like, it never ends. It's brutal. I hate that it has only driven us apart. It is only making us more suspicious of our people in our community when normally this stuff brings us together to unite and be like, we're going to do it.
Oh, and just when we're done getting driven as far apart as possible, we're going to go right into the election season. That's going to be great.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait. USA! USA!
Yeah, it's just amazing how divided people get during that time. And it's sad because, people should be able to, be friends and get along and have differences and opinions. And I don't understand. I think it has to do with, that keyboard courage.
Facebook. I think it's Facebook because, you might have been a closet conservative and had all these beliefs and stuff, and Facebook allows you to share a post and it allows you to share some thoughts, and people all of a sudden see behind your mind and be like, "What are you kidding me?" And I believe certain things that a lot of people probably wouldn't believe, and it's just not a forum for getting in because you're sharing this crazy video about this crazy thing versus having the conversation in person and face is always different of I can kind of see that.
Yeah, and it's it goes both ways where it's I feel like because people aren't in front of each other, they're willing to get angry and irate and delete somebody where if you were sitting around the kitchen table and you were having your discussion and you could say what you wanted to say, which was completely opposite from them, they're not going to flip you off, walk out of your house, and never come see you again.
Totally.
But for some reason on Facebook, it's delete. I got the power. It's it's really, really strange.
Yeah, and it's very much like the world we live in with negative comments. You just always try to picture that guy that was in high school that was just you can't take this guy's opinion for anything. He has a terrible life, and he just he wants to take it out on somebody. He's having a horrible day, he's having a horrible year, and he's gonna just lash out any way they can with but man, when it's so articulately written or whatever, it's just you read it in a voice of someone who actually has something to say.
Yeah. It's hard, with some of that stuff. I don't usually. I've said this a bunch of times. I think I get those comments, but I think they're funny or something like that.
You're Teflon.
So I just don't get that they're actually being serious. I'm like, oh my God, he called me a fat ass. That's hilarious. And I'm like, wait a minute. Was he?
Just when he had something good to say. The keyboard warriors. Only use Facebook for bike parts, says Jack. Okay, you're back. That was a quick one. I didn't start any new tangents.
Oh, sweet. I was just about ready to kick the dog. Yeah. So I don't know. What was the last thing I just said? That every time it goes off, it's like my brain shuts off.
Yeah. So you're talking you get negative comments, but somehow your brain is able to bounce them off. Maybe a little bit of growing up. People make fun of you or something like that, so you're able to kind of grow the thicker skin.
My last name is Schumacher, so I definitely got a lot of teasing because of the make me some shoes or whatever, But I think every kid gets teased.
Yeah, mine was JFK, John F. Kennedy, related to the president, just the easiest, lowest common denominator, yeah.
I grew up pretty poor too, and maybe some of that has something to do with it, where it was just I had to accept that if people were gonna like be down on you, like there's nothing that I could do about it. You know what I mean? So it was like maybe there's just some part of that, or it's like another part where it's like I just can't be really bothered putting my energy into like some bullshit like that. You know, like it just doesn't work well for me.
And that's so easy to say, but to actually live it, if you are actually feel that way, like that is awesome, man. Because I feel that way, 99% of the time, and then one just sneaks in, and it's like, why did it actually hurt me? How is this possible? I've been doing this too long.
But I'll second guess the shit out of some stuff with like people that I'm friends with, and like I know in the past, like I'd say maybe send you a text about something, and I'm like, maybe he didn't think that was funny. Why didn't he reply?
Yeah,
I'm just beating the fucking
That's
dropping all the F-bombs right
that's
now.
A whole different. That's a whole different realm of like insecurity and like I was out on a ride, man. Like you reply back.
I have no security there. Like on the internet, I'm like, like iron sides rod or something like that. But stuff like that where I'm just like, oh man, I fall apart quick. So. It's funny how things are.
Oh, he had a good one. Dang it. StreamYard, you son of a gun. How? Oh, wait, he's back. He's already back.
Faster. They're getting faster. I'm not even losing my train of thought now.
Yeah, sweet. Start from the top.
So I was just saying, it's just funny how people like live their lives that way, and one thing can really affect somebody that doesn't affect somebody else, and vice versa. It's I guess it's just it's what makes us all individuals, right?
Definitely, it is, and Rogan has like one of the best sayings of all time: "Hurt people, hurt people." That's all you need to know.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hurt people. If you think about when you're kids and just kids that were really mean and bullies, it's like you just wish you could go back in time and be like, hey man, how much is your dad beating the shit out of you every day at home? And like, what is going on? Like, what kind of weird sexual stuff is happening? Like, why is this girl actually this is 7th grade, man? Like, this should not be happening right now. And like, it happens. And it doesn't seem like it would still keep happening. And these cycles would keep repeating, and it's 2020, but life is life.
I think that's one of the things that like how as like a society, I feel like humans that will actually get to like a different level is when we actually really stop trying to like focus on making our lives easier and better by technology and mechanisms, but like figuring out like how to make our lives better, like because mentally we figured out what the hell's wrong with us and how we operate and communicate that to each other and teach each other in a way that we actually live our lives that way. I think that I think you get what I'm saying.
I do. I actually do get what you're saying because I love technology. I'm like all about technology. I think technology is going to save us all. I think there's going to be so many improvements even still. But if you can't look inside and be like, I just had this crazy blow up and I yelled at this person. Like, why did I yell at this person? Like, what is going on inside of me because I felt afraid because I thought I was going to do it this way, but we're going to do it this way now. And I'm scared. That comes out as like trying to bite someone's head off.
Yeah, and then it seems like you do it more to people that you care about than
of course
people that
you let your guard down and you're like, oh no, you're comfortable, and it's the ultimate. It's the worst.
So
cook my dinner, Sarah. When is this gonna be ready?
Get back in the kitchen. So I've been a little awestruck, from some people that I've met, and I've definitely seen some people come up to me and be like, a little like, oh my God, that's this dude on the internet. Who's somebody that you've got that whenever you met them?
Oh man. So that guy that I was talking about earlier, Mark Norman, the comedian. So I went and saw him at the Punchline, and then after, comedians are usually pretty good about like doing a little meet and greet, wait in the line, and like I was like had a couple little anecdotes to tell him, and I totally like fumbled them and stuff. And I wasn't even gonna get a picture, but like because I know that I like getting pictures with people, but I know how much like a handshake and a real conversation is so much better. Actually trying to connect with someone that you really like is so much better than, hey, let's do a picture, like da-da-da. But he was like, hey, let's get a picture, and I'm glad we got a picture and stuff. But yeah, he's such a cool dude because I listen to his podcast and all these things, and I'm like,
yeah, you just fumbled the hell out of the whole thing, right? Has there been any real awkward ones that you've had with people coming up to you?
Man, it's pretty much on the whole, it's fantastic. But there have been some classic ones. There's a classic one when like me and enough time has passed now. It's like the statute of limitations really has to keep rolling for me to be able to tell these great stories. But there was what classic one. Me, Seth, and Alexander were hanging out, and a guy came up, was like, "Hey man, how's it going? You know, my kid loves your videos," and like kind of saddled up and was eating there with us, and it was the lingerer, the people that just like, dude, get in and get out. Like it's like you gotta like tell your story. Hey, what's up? That's great. Like when it's like, unless you're really shucking and jiving and like we're laughing, and if you're like able to really keep the conversation going, then we're still having a conversation. Right. But if you're kind of like it's like, dude, that's your time. So I was the bad guy in this. It was good because they were more like, into Seth and talk to Seth and oh my God, it's Seth. So I was kind of the bad guy in the situation where I kind of really ramped it up. I was like, hey, nice meeting you guys. We're gonna get back to this now. Like, take it easy. Like I did it a couple times, and he got the hint eventually, but it took a couple of hints, man. It's like, holy moly, get in, get out, boom, boom, and hit the road, and like it's funny. But I see it. For people, it's like I think there's things people want to say and like they don't know how to say it, and it's like because I know just as much as anyone else. Sometimes videos and comedy can get you through some pretty rough times and stuff. You just have like a couple bad days or something, and you flip on some YouTube and you're like, oh man, this is nice. Especially when you're sick or you got the flu or something. Like those videos and live streams, it is such like nourishment for the soul. And you're like, man, you want to be able to tell somebody that, and it's like it just comes out so awkward and it doesn't really translate.
I don't remember if it was last week or somebody I was talking to. That really odd thing about it is that person knows you on a personal level and you don't know them at all.
Yeah.
Like, like somebody that watches like Tom Hanks movies, right? Like they don't know Tom Hanks. They know like the character. You know what I mean? That's
a great example too, because I don't know much about him at all.
Right. But like with us, it's like they know us a lot, especially if they've been around for a while or they went and binged everything. So it's like they're walking up to you, man, and you're like,
they're loaded,
like I have nothing, dude.
They've got all the anecdotes, all the things, the yak. Oh my God,
yeah, it's funny. I don't know about you, but I can like tell from across the room when somebody recognizes me and they're having this dialogue in their head, like, should I say something? Do I not say something? And then you'll like walk away or whatever, and you're like, I know that guy recognized me. And then you'll get like this message on like Instagram like 2 days later, like, dude, I ran into you. That was so cool. You're like, why did you just say hi, man?
Totally. I know. I'm with kids. I try to be like, hey man, what's up? Like I remember at Whistler one time we were kind of all sitting, like it was like me and BCPOV, like all the Whistler EWS guys, like kind of sitting around eating, and I could tell there was a kid like kind of looking off and like being like, what? Yeah. Like just like couldn't get the courage to come say hi or whatever, but like I think maybe I even went up to him or something like, hey man, like kind of thing, just enough to like really give him a special feeling, because I don't know how it would be if I was a third grader, going up to Seinfeld or whatever it would be, probably later on, but it'd be tough.
I always feel kind of awkward too whenever it's kids, because I'm like, dude, my channel is kind of raunchy, man, and drinking a lot of beer, and like their parents are there and they're like, oh, he's a big fan, and I'm like, do you listen to the stuff that I'm saying?
Hell yeah, baby. Right?
So Jack Adler threw up this in the comments. I thought it was actually pretty good. He said, how do you keep your channels free of politics in these diverse times?
The divisive times, man.
I said it wrong. Now. Apparently I can't read or get internet. So
it's tough. It is really tough, because there's enough stuff that I believe in. I kind of throw in my little things here and there, but I'm such down the middle that it's like, it's okay. Like, people think this, people think that. And I think I don't want to be the total guy that pretends like nothing's going on in the world and like you come here for an escape. And I'd rather be kind of like, hey, here's what I think. And that's why on Patreon I did all kinds of virus updates every week of like, oh, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm seeing, oh, my mom works at a hospital, here's what they're saying and stuff. And yeah, but to really go down the path of like, this guy sucks, this guy's better, this guy should be in prison, this guy shouldn't, and it's tough. I can't do it. Yeah. I can't do it.
I try to stay away from it, honestly, just because like I know how how divided people are over like that, and just a couple of other topics.
Because you love Trump so much, I know it.
Yeah, right. I mean, but like the things are, it's like just like you said, like I mean, I'm not like 100% in bed with anybody either. You know, it's like I have things that I like about this person or that person, and same with like if we're talking about politics or if we're talking about religion or whatever it is. Like I got all these beliefs that aren't like 100%, but if you say one thing that maybe resonates the opposite bell from what somebody that's listening to, you know, like
it hurts.
That's all they hear, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And it's like, dude, I'm a person that has opinions, you know, just like anybody else. But I don't know. We share
third party.
Talk about it.
We need a third party. I think that's pretty much what it is. It's like somewhere maybe in the middle, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then shakes everything up enough to kind of like get people on their toes.
Or maybe we just need America to be a third world country for a while. And all of a sudden they'd be like, "Oh man, can we go back to that? Remember that back there when we were?"
It's not so bad.
You know, I think you've done a lot of travel. We actually had this conversation the other day around the table, and my family and I, and it was like, a lot of people don't get around the world to see some of these other places. And like for me, when I was in the military and seeing a place like Bosnia and Croatia, where it's just like completely leveled.
That was in the 90s. That was the real deal stuff.
Yeah. It's just like seeing a city that's completely leveled and thinking about like, how would that be if this was my neighborhood?
Yes, because that was it's sad to say, but that wasn't a third world country. That wasn't like, mud huts and stuff. That was like real 20th century buildings and like white people like, oh my God, like, oh, how could have this ever happened? Like, and we just don't see it. We're so far away. We're not that far away from World War II, but we are so far away mentally to ever think that anything like that could ever happen. And like that people still had to go on and their friggin' lives were ruined and they were the only survivor of their, their family or whatever. So it's crazy. I hate that we forget about that stuff so much.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think even with World War II, it's like we didn't really have, other than Pearl Harbor, I mean, we didn't have this stuff happening on American soil. So if you look at pictures of Germany during World War II, like that place was leveled. It was like, holy cow, man. Yeah. Like, how did anybody even survive? Like you see pictures of their major cities and you're like, what? How? Like,
how would you get fresh water? Like, where would you go take a dump? Like, there's all these crazy things that happen. Like the response and how everybody have to get together. Like, it is ridiculous.
What's one of the places that really shocked you when you went there? Like you were expecting more out of it. Like it was good. You were expecting it to be like bigger, more civilized, and you got there and you're like, wow, this is like way different than I thought.
A lot of the places, it's funny how almost the same everywhere in the world is. Like it's almost kind of sad. Like it's like, oh yeah, this is the same as this is the same as this. But like China was definitely a very, very interesting one for sure because before I did the Tibet trip that was kind of mostly in China, the company Extravagant Yak, they also did like a touristy non-bike trip to the city called Lhasa. And Lhasa is like the real deal capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region, the capital of Tibet when it was an independent country, where like that's like the crazy stuff happens there. That's like if Nazi Germany had the technology that we have today, that's what Lhasa is now. It's like the Chinese Communist Party, like, oh, we got face scanners, we got everybody has to have their card to go through. It's like, ooh, the 21st century like ghettos and just like total clamp down on the Tibetan like people, like the real like ethnic Tibetans can't really travel around. They got to have their papers. They got to scan in cards. Us white people walking around like, oh yeah, come on through, like no problem, kind of thing, because it's legit crazy over there. And it surprised me. I kind of knew, you've heard Free Tibet and all that stuff. And there's definitely two sides to every story. There's definitely like the Chinese side where oh God, maybe there is a little bit of truth that this was just like a super rich, religious kingdom and like the people were super starving versus, hey, the communists took over and freaking killed a ton of people and basically burned every church to the ground, but there's still a couple churches there now just for novelty tourism purposes and stuff. So it was pretty eye-opening, pretty crazy to like get to see, hey, this is what the Nazis would do if they were, you know, operating now. And like, it's pretty, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting too, whenever you, are traveling and you hear people that aren't Americans' opinion of Americans. Because sometimes we always think that everybody thinks we're great, you know, and then you get somewhere and you start hearing people talk about, you know, well, they're doing this, and you're like, oh wow, maybe we're not, you know, as great as we think we are, you know.
It's amazing how much, like, so I started my channel 2016, and then I did my first international trip in October. That was right before the election. That was like, I went to Spain, and you know, the Trump thing was like rolling, and everybody wanted to know, oh, what do you think of Trump? What do you think of Trump? That it's still like a constant conversation of like how fixated the world is on American. It's like it's kind of strange to actually be there and be somewhere else where that's all they want to talk about. Not even because I'm an American, like that's all they're talking about normally. And how weirdly we are the center of the world somehow. And I believe it from our economic and political power and stuff, but you guys could work on your own stuff too. Right. you could make your country better too instead of complaining about us. Like it's possible.
You were talking about Tibet, and for some reason, it started making me think about like the Himalayas and stuff.
Yeah.
And do you ever watch any of those like documentaries on people that like climb mountains and stuff?
I've seen a couple.
There's some pretty like crazy.
Oh, right as we were going to get into it, I bet he'll snap back in. So when I was in Tibet, that's basically the Himalayas. On the north side of the Himalayas is China, and then the south side of the Himalayas is Nepal. And Nepal supposedly has a lot of mountain bike infrastructure, actually. So there's all kinds of different places you can go and ride.
Oh, and I'm back. I don't know what happened on your end. So anyways, I'm just going to jump back where I was at. So, so what I was thinking was like, if you weren't like into mountain biking and there was like some other thing that you could like click your fingers and tomorrow you were like a pro at that, like what would that be? Or was there like some kind of like crazy like climb the mountain kind of thing that you would want to do, you know?
I really like paragliding. Like when I see people do paragliding in Vallejo, there's a very big hill that I think it's world renowned. Even people come out and do this hill because you can get really good wind and you can take off and float around and do a flight. And you know, that's just you with your parachute flying around. I've done it in Switzerland, like a tandem, but it's something that eventually I think I would really like to do and get good at, but it's so dangerous. It's just like, it's quite crazy. But if I could snap my fingers and be it like one of the world's best and just go up for a ride. I really love the paramotor thing. There's a guy on YouTube called named Tucker Gott that's like showing some things where you get the engine strapped to your back. And nowadays I think the electric ones are getting better, so it's not a big noisy thing. And you just go and fly around and see the world. I just love looking down when I take off in a flight. That's one of my most favorite things is looking down and just seeing like everything down below, and you know, taking off out of Oakland and heading east. I can usually see my house. I can usually see the Carquinez Strait. I can usually see the different stuff. So it's awesome. Bike Som. How about flying in a squirrel suit? Oh my God, the squirrel suit stuff is so crazy. It is like beyond. I think you actually have to have like the weird Alex Honnold thing where your brain doesn't register fear. That's like all those guys do that. And like, I remember seeing a YouTube video about, 7 of my friends have died in wingsuiting. And luckily, none of my friends have died mountain biking that I know of. Dead air. Rob's taking beer breaks. We've got something good planned, and I'm gonna hang in there long enough for him to get back so we can wrap it up. Maybe we'll be able to wrap it up with us flying in. Axel Rodriguez wants to know what the best East Bay riding spot is. What is the best East Bay riding spot? I don't know. What do you think, Rob? What's the best East Bay riding spot?
Oh, look at that.
Back.
I'm back for now, man. We'll see what happens. Dude, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, like, picking up the ball and running with it. Dude. Holy crap. This is like, we're going to have a do-over, like, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like
I'm down.
All right. So I heard you mentioning about hanging out long enough to make something happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
So I usually ask people what they're into as far as like what kind of YouTube channels they like. So do you have any favorites?
Yeah, man. I'm big watching Matt Reisinger. It's the build show. He's building all kinds of crazy building buildings all the time, and I'm like getting into building science, and I just want to build like stuff now. But and of course, Hot Ones. I think we both share a love for the Hot Ones YouTube channel.
Oh yes, we do. We had this conversation beforehand, and who's some of your favorite people on there, man? I always like seeing Bert Kreischer on there.
Yeah, Bert actually was excellent. The recent one where it was like more of a it was a Zoom call, kind of a like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And it was excellent. Like he's a funny guy. It was really good, and yeah, it's good when people can go roll with the punches and not just get totally destroyed and like, oh, I'm here to do my publicity kind of thing.
So if anybody doesn't watch that show, basically it's like
oh, we lost him. So I'll take over. Hot Ones. It's an interview show. Oh, you're back. Okay, you go for it.
So a guy interviewing a celebrity, and they go through eating like a handful of hot wings together, and the sauces are just getting hotter and hotter. And he's just a really good interview, and it's pretty fun to check out. And there's this one sauce on there called Da Bomb, and so Brian and I went out and bought this thing. It is ridiculous.
They say it's the worst. They say it's like literally like it's always the one that tastes the worst. It's the one that like really gets people to like be like, what is going on?
So when I got my bottle, the cap was broken off the top. So I had to like clean this bag out, and I had it all over my hands. I washed my hands with like dish soap, and I thought I got it all off. Everything was good to go. Like half an hour later, I was like driving to Auburn to go ride.
Touch your eyes.
My eye, and it started burning something fierce. So then worse than that, I went riding, and I think from like washing my hands and having that stuff all over it, like it was like all over my hands. I didn't really realize it. So by the end of the ride, like my pores had opened up and my hands burned for the rest of the night.
Oh my God.
So now we're going to eat it.
Let's do it. I've got
All
my nugs. I've got my plant-based nuggets here.
Are we just doing one?
Yeah, we're just doing one. We're not. There's definitely like one spot, like one dab. That's what the hot sauce. The directions call for like one dot at a time. So I'll do enough. I'll do enough to get me going here. But I'm not going to go full on. I mean, this is probably going to be enough to cause a reaction for sure. I'm ready. You're here. We got you.
All right. So I see you talking about you're just doing a little dab.
Yeah, not a full dip. That's probably plenty.
That's as much as you're going with?
I'll put. It's one drip. That's like one drip. If I was.
Right. Let me switch my camera here. I'll show you guys what I'm going to do here. Let's go. Let's put some on here. I don't know how much to go with either.
Oh, God. So do it. It's like
if we're gonna eat this thing, we might have to eat it,
right? Oh God.
So
all right, I'll go a little more. I'll go a little more in solidarity here. Oh dear God.
This is gonna be the worst day of your life. I'm trying not to get any of this sauce on my hands because I know what happened last time.
Yeah, good call.
I'm just gonna go ahead.
All right.
You ready to go in?
Yep, I am ready. Let's do it.
Fuck, I'm scared. So if anybody doesn't want to hear,
yeah,
oh, it's coming on strong.
It just already has that peppery.
I think it tastes like battery acid. Good Lord.
It's ramping up. I can just feel it. It's already ramping up. The tongue is tickling.
That's going pretty good, man.
Why would it? Oh no! Here we go. Why would anyone put this on their food?
It's like a train coming in a station.
Yeah.
It was about a mile out a minute ago.
The front of the tongue to the back. I see Joe's in here, Colorado kid.
Yeah.
I do have a bucket ready to go, just in case. I'm not even going to drink water.
I'm going in for the water for sure.
Of course I'm going to drink water.
It's definitely like ramping up the whole back of my mouth.
It is like acid. It is not food.
Completely on fire. I've done the super hot sauce at B-Dubs. This is like 150,000 Scoville or something like that. And the B-Dubs one,
Buffalo Wild Wings, yeah.
I think theirs is like 350 or something like that.
It's moving
holy shit,
into the back now.
Oh yeah, pretty much going down the throat. So if you watch Hot Ones, they always ask like some serious questions, Ray, about now.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, you've traveled the world, you got a girlfriend now, you've blown your channel up to a couple 100,000. You've become famous enough to eat a stupidly, extremely hot piece of chicken wing or chicken nugget on your channel. What's next? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to getting the 50 state shred back on the road because I owe it to you guys. Oh, Robert's gone. I owe it to you guys to get back to try to get as many states as possible. I still have 37 states to go. I did 13 states on the 50 state. It hurts to exhale. No, I don't know if anyone's ever said that before. That it actually hurts to exhale. But yeah, I got a lot of states to get to, and I will get to them. I have to feel comfortable, though. I talk about this in my upcoming videos, and you've already seen it if you've watched my Patreon, but it has to feel comfortable to be like, hey, I'm traveling all these states. I'm getting out there, and I'm doing it. It's like, it has to feel right, but I have to kind of push my comfort zone a little bit, too, because got to keep, just like natural saliva swallowing hurts so much. Yeah, Rob just quit. He just gave up. He knew this was coming, so he's turning many shades of red. Man, I just feel it. I just feel it on the back of my tongue. How do they keep going? How would you even be able to keep going after this one? It's crazy. I think someone said 113,000 Scoville. 135,600 Scoville. It's just like, man. Steve White in the chat came back from a three-state road trip. Everywhere outside of California is pretty normal. Whew. Oh, I'm not going to have the yogurt. I know you want to give me the yogurt. Okay, maybe I'll have the yogurt.
Sour cream with syrup.
Sour cream with syrup.
It'll work better.
Sarah says this will help. This is like more disgusting than the hot sauce. Yeah, it was great, honey. Ooh, that was really good. It really calmed it down. Thank you. It's funny too because I'm not at that point where I'm desperate enough to actually eat something that I wouldn't really want. It's more fun if we just. Oh, I see you there. Are you back? Oh, he's turning a couple shades. Oh, no. Welcome back, Rob. Welcome back.
Oh, I hope so. Sweet baby Jesus.
I don't like the dairy. I don't drink the milk.
On the YouTube stream.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing it on my own computer.
Okay. Lagging out a little bit.
So I don't know what's happening.
Clear out the sign
for the last few minutes.
Clear them out.
Like seriously, tears running down my face.
Oh man, I wonder if I give Sarah a kiss, what would happen? This is the virus. We got the virus going. Yeah, my I look more white than normal, but I think it's a little desaturated. Rob's screen is a little more saturated than me. I can feel it. I can feel it on my tongue. Dang, how the heck? I guess you could still keep going after that, but man, I wonder. We started with the hot habanero peppers and blended them with smoky chipotle peppers and natural pepper extract to create a sauce that was lab tested at 135,600 Scoville units. Wicked beyond belief. Wandering with Wade says, wait till it exits. Whew, the old downside. The downside guarantee, as they like to call it in sports. Warning, this sauce is extremely hot. Keep out of reach of children. Consume 1 drop at a time with extreme caution. They were right. They were right. Woo! Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm stressed. Got the Kramer going. Next challenge, eat that sauce, then bomb down Hoot in Nevada City. I like that, Joe. That's a good one. Oh, man, I want to wipe my nose, but I did I touch this? Is this touch that? I've watched enough Hot Ones to know that I need to go into like a decompression chamber after this. Oh, only if you eat the seeds. Oh. Biker Bar's in the chat. He's in the chat. My internet is just hating me. What is my exit strategy? Rob, I'm going to wait long enough for Rob to join in. We're going to have to make this up by actually doing another an even hotter one. Oh no. Steve Y said he made a guy at work throw up by doing the bomb.
Oh, let's look back.
Oh, that was pretty good, man. That was pretty good.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch how it happened with you. I can tell you honestly, at this point, it's subsided enough that it's
it's there, but it's not. Yeah, there's like a wave. There's definitely a wave where it was like exhaling. I've never heard anyone say when they're exhaling through their mouth that they actually felt it. It was like
burns more.
Brutal.
It made tears come out and down my face. I didn't want to touch my face though, so I've already decided that's not gonna happen. But holy cow! I tell you what, that puts a whole new perspective to everybody that's done that show. And made it through that.
Because that's like number 6 or number 7 or number 5.
I think it's like 7. I think
it's 7. Yeah, it's like you're still got a little bit to go after that one. And it
seems like it's still coming in waves too for some reason. Like I'll be like, oh, it's okay. And then all of a sudden it'll be like.
It was funny too because like
right
when it was making its way down my throat, because it was on my tongue, but then there was just a little bit where I swallowed enough to get it down. I don't feel anything in my stomach whatsoever, which is bizarre. Like the nerve endings aren't there or whatever. Like fun fact, birds don't have the enzyme or whatever for capsaicin, which is what causes us to be like, ugh. So birds can eat peppers and eat all those seeds and everything just fine. But for us, it hits hard. And I think pretty much every other animal too. Whew.
Yeah, definitely cleaned out my sinuses. That's for damn sure.
Oh, bring the hot sauce on the next ride.
That was impressive, dude. I tell you what, man. I was nervous about that, to tell you the truth.
I wasn't nervous until before we started. I hadn't taken the lid off, and I actually smelled it. I'm like, oh God, what are we getting into? I had not even like, oh yeah, well it'll be fun. We'll do it. And now like more scarred now from actually going through it.
I will say when I did that one at B-Dubs that like I had tried like 3 of them and I couldn't taste anything for like hours. Like it was horrible. But that was pretty bad though, man. That one just like smacks you like a freight train and you're just like you want to run away from yourself.
Man, these guys that like it's just an escalation. It's like some kind of thing like, oh, yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on the show and like I said, like pulling through on my internet, and God only knows what happened here. So we'll have to pull something else back together and hopefully we can have a more legitimate conversation without you having to toe the line for me.
Happy to be here, dude. Totally happy to be here.
Really do appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say on your way out? You get this camera, this camera.
Man, I've been I'm gonna be live streaming tomorrow 9 a.m. I think today's Sunday, right? Yeah, so I'll be up. Hopefully I'll still have my voice, I'll still have my stuff going, and many more videos here. I take entertaining you guys very seriously. This is my passion, it's my vocation, it's my drive, and that's why I'm here, to make you guys smile, to make you guys think a little bit and laugh, and hopefully get a little inspiration to go travel these places when you legally are able to.
Right on, man. Hey, like you've been an inspiration to me. Honestly, I wouldn't have got off my ass and took my old biker.com website down and started building the channel that I have.
Hell yeah.
To get to where I am. And so every time like somebody that's congratulating me on like helping them through something, like that's also like, you know, coming back through you as well, dude.
The circle of life, for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's been a great ride. I really appreciate you for freaking motivating me to get off my ass, dude. That was awesome. So
hell yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing there. Those of you guys that hung around for that whole shit show, I apologize for how everything went down. Do me a favor though, if you did like it and you feel bad for us what we ate, just hit the subscribe button, please, and maybe the like button. I don't care if you hit the like button as much as I want you to hit the subscribe button.
Yeah,
because we really got to get to a point where we can have the super chats, and then you can go ahead and like throw up $1,000 and we'll eat a second one.
exactly. Egg it on. You gotta exactly the interactivity is very good. If you got a second account, if you've got a third or fourth account too, switch your accounts, log into the different one. Yeah, we got more than 100 people watching this live stream right now. Hell yeah.
So also, just want to throw a quick shout out again to Project 321 Hubs, man. They're a great company out of Bend, Oregon. Jake's a good guy. Like I said earlier, man, I've been riding their hubs for a long time. So I'm definitely not just up here telling you because they decided to sponsor the show. So that code was BKER Bar Baller, except for he didn't spell biker with a B1. So
yeah.
So it's BKER.
Is it over? Can we pretend like we're not feeling this anymore?
I hear you, man.
Cut it off.
Just make it stop, right? That's just hilarious. I'm trying to get there. We go. See, this thing's just lagging the hell out of it. So, hey, I want everybody to remember one thing. It only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one. Thanks a lot, Brian.
My pleasure.